Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the unbelievably overlooked tale of a bench. Yes, a bench. Not just any bench, though. This one sits crookedly in the forgotten crossroads, barely noticed by the adventurers who rush past it, blades drawn, and boots muddy. But tonight, you're not rushing, you're not fighting, you're just here to sit down. And as you lower yourself onto the cool, worn wood, you feel something stir. Not literally, of course, that would be terrifying. No, it's more like memory. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe button. Only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Feel free to drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You sit. The bench creaks gently, as if sighing beneath your weight. It's not uncomfortable, more like a firm hug from an antique. There's dust in the grooves and a faint scent of something old and wooden, like a violin that gave up its dreams and settled for furniture work. Around you, the forgotten crossroads hum softly with the distant patter of tiny feet, the echo of nothing happening. You run your fingers across the seat. The wood is smooth in some places, splintered in others. There's a tiny engraving under your hand, a beetle with a smug expression, holding a loaf of bread. You have no idea what it means, neither does anyone else, honestly. Historians still argue whether this was a symbol of a long-lost bakery guild, or just a bored bug with a sense of humor. The bench is positioned in a strange place, neither exactly central nor truly hidden. It's just ... there, like someone dropped it mid-thought and forgot to move it. And yet it draws you in. It's a magnet for those who need to pause. There's a reason every weary traveler ends up here. Not for strategy, not for speed, but for stillness. You lean back and look around. Nothing moves, not even the dust. The air is thick, like an unspoken secret that the walls have learned to live with. Just try to imagine what this place used to be, before everything got broken and abandoned. Once this intersection would have been bustling with beetles in suits, moths on errands, larvae skipping school, and right here, in the middle of it all, this little bench, just waiting to carry the burdens of tired bugs and their even more tired thoughts. There's something oddly comforting in knowing that this bench has outlived most of Hallownest. Buildings have crumbled, thrones have fallen, fungal cults have risen and been politely ignored, and yet this modest two-plank seat remains, still here, still solid. Like a stubborn relative who refuses to move out of the family home, even though the walls are eaten by moss. You imagine a time when the bench wasn't just a pause in your journey, but a destination in itself. Maybe it was once freshly varnished. Maybe someone wiped it down daily with a rag soaked in lavender oil and bureaucracy. Maybe official bugs held long meetings on it, discussing the critical state of elevator slowness in the kingdom, or whether beetle taxes should be paid in nectar or dirt. A known historical fact, benches like this were once used to mark safe zones within the kingdom. Wherever you found one, it meant you were welcome, or at least tolerated. This particular bench, according to several faded records stored in Queen's Station, was installed as part of a civic comfort initiative under the reign of King Pale. 3. He believed that no soul should wander without a seat to remember who they are. Very poetic. Deeply impractical. Most of the benches were stolen within weeks. As you close your eyes for a moment, a wave of calm drapes over you. You're not sleepy yet, Desh. Just ... less awake. You picture the crafts bug who might have made this bench. They carve it by lamplight. Did they whistle while they worked? Did they think even for a second that hundreds of years later, someone like you would be here, sitting exactly where they placed their final touch? One odd detail you notice is the slight slant in the right leg. It's not enough to tip over, just enough to remind you that nothing is perfect. Some scholars claim this tilt was intentional, design signature of the artisan known as K.R. Arda, the woodbender, who believed all objects should have a flaw to make them loved. Others argue it was caused by a clumsy royal messenger who dropped it down a stairwell on delivery day. That debate has its own yearly conference. There's something serene about all of this. You, a tiny figure in a massive forgotten world, sitting on a bench that doesn't care who you are, what you've done, or how many times you've fallen into spikes. It's just here, waiting. And as you let out a slow breath, you swear just for a second, you feel the bench breathe back. You shift your weight slightly, and the bench responds with the softest creak-a-whisper from wood worn smooth by hundreds, maybe thousands of sitters before you. Like you imagine each of them stopping here, just like you. Adventurers, wanderers, workers, some full of hope, others less so. All of them needing a break. It's easy to forget that benches were once more than just quiet places to rest. In Hallownest's prime, they were cultural landmarks, often placed in carefully selected public zones to represent community. This one, nestled in the crossroads, used to stand near a market, according to ancient etchings found on a crumbling plaque behind you. The market's gone, the signs are gone. But the bench-o? The bench stayed. Historians still debate whether this very bench was part of the seating mandate of Year 103, which required all districts of Hallownest to install resting spots at every major tunnel convergence. Some scholars argue that the king merely wanted to sit more often without looking your fingers brush across another faint carving. It's hard to make out, but it looks like a very enthusiastic depiction of a grub mid-dance, or mid-panic. To say, there's a long-standing theory that artists from the surface came down to the crossroads to practice bench art, an underground movement of carving random nonsense into public seats as a way of documenting daily life. It's not graffiti, they insisted. It's storytelling. Bug storytelling. Quiet, weird, wiggly storytelling. You lean back again. There's a comfort in this place that has nothing to do with comfort. The wood is hard. The air is damp. But the space. The space itself feels like an exhale. No obligations. No upgrades. Just ... existing. You start to imagine what it would have been like when the bench was first installed. Trumpets. Probably not. A ribbon-cutting ceremony. Maybe. More likely it was plopped here by a grumpy civil engineer who hadn't slept in 3 days. There's a soft humming now. It's like wind passing through a cracked shell. You wonder if it's your mind playing tricks, or the crossroads gently reminding you that time passes differently here, and it does. While sitting on this bench, hours slide off your shoulders like water from wax. You forget what you were rushing to do, what you were chasing. What you were avoiding? There's a deep crack running down the backrest. Not dangerous, but definitely earned. Some speculate it came from a weighty knight in full armor who misjudged the sturdiness. Others say it split the moment the Pale King passed through after his unrecorded visit to the lower districts. Personally, you prefer the knight theory. It's funnier. You picture a massive bug warrior gently lowering themselves and hearing the faintest crack, followed by an awkward cough and a quick exit. Interestingly, benches were also used as bureaucratic stations. In less populated areas, government agents would sit and conduct simple administrative tasks, proving building permits, resolving minor disputes, renewing shell polish licenses. If 2 bugs arrived at once, it was customary to resolve who got to sit through a series of polite stares and passive-aggressive wing fluttering. This particular bench shows signs of that history. Circular indentations from ink pots, scratch marks, in the pattern of official seals, and what looks suspiciously like a bored clerk's attempt to carve help in elegant cursive. It's charming, really. Makes you feel part of something bigger and slower. You glance down and notice a tiny fossil wedged into the base of the bench leg. A curled little larva fossil, to be precise. It's a rare one, only found in districts that had public institutions before the Great Silence. Some scholars believe these fossils were placed intentionally, part of a tradition called seating anchors, where benches were blessed with small tokens of permanence. Others say it's just a bug who died trying to sit first. Again, the debate continues. You stretch your legs and wonder if anyone's ever fallen asleep here and simply stayed forever. There's no sign saying you can't. No alarm to wake you, no one to notice. A forgotten nap on a forgotten bench in a forgotten place, oddly appealing. No taxes, no schedules, no chores. Just soft echoes, low ceilings, and the occasional pitter-patter of something you choose not to investigate. Another odd detail, the bench faces a wall. Not a scenic view, not a fountain, just a wall. Early city planning records showed that this was actually intentional. The designers believed that inward-facing benches encourage introspection, or maybe they just ran out of room. Either way, it works. If you're not looking out, you're looking in. A known fact. In Hallownest's golden years, benches were engraved with tiny location markers for lost travelers. A sort of analog GPS. You find one on the side, a tiny arrow, and the letters QSW gives for G, which might mean Queens Station West for gates, or maybe it means quit sitting, walk for groves. The interpretations vary wildly. At some point, without realizing it, you've begun to breathe in sync with the silence. It's not that the world has stopped, it's just stepped outside for a minute. Close your eyes, just for a second, and for the first time in a long while, nothing pulls at you. No boss fight, no upgrades. No. Just you, and this suspiciously influential bench. And maybe that's exactly what it was built for. You stretch out your legs a little further, and the bench creaks again, just a tiny, dignified complaint, like a librarian shushing someone out of habit. The air is a little cooler now, and you start to notice the finer details. A small patch of moss has taken root in the corner where one leg meets stone, as if nature herself decided to redecorate after centuries of neglect. It's subtle. It's like a bug putting a tiny painting above its fireplace and never inviting anyone to see it. The carvings along the side of the bench seem older now than they did before, lines smoothed into near invisibility by time, dust, and hundreds of bug butts. There's one peculiar symbol you keep staring at. A half circle over a jagged line. Some believe it represents the old civic council that once governed the crossroads. Others think it's just a stylized cracked egg. Regardless, it's etched in a way that suggests intention, some kind of governance or order once passed through this very spot. You lean forward slightly, resting your forearms on your knees, and imagine what that might have looked like. A bureaucratic empire humming beneath the surface, ruled not by swords or spells, but by quills, scrolls, and passive-aggressive memos. This bench wasn't just a resting place, it was a desk, a pulpit, a stage for bug-level drama, so slow and procedural that it would have put modern office meetings to shame. One historical document, trescued from a partially dissolved scroll found in Greenpath, describes a moment when a low-level scribe named Vemick accidentally rewrote a regional zoning law while napping on a bench just like this one. The mistake wasn't caught for 13 years and led to a forest being classified as a Hedon City residential zone. No one lives there. Still doesn't. Historians still debate whether Vemick was lazy or just ahead of his time. You smile at the thought. Bureaucratic collapse by nap. There's something noble about that. Imagine writing the future of a kingdom. With drool on your cheek and your legs dangling off the edge of a bench, the carvings here also include tally marks. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Organized into little clusters, they snake along the underside of the bench in what appears to be some kind of bug shorthand. Archaeologists have tried for decades to decipher them. Were they tracking time? Victories? Boring conversations survived. One leading theory suggests it was a long-form record of how many travelers took naps without ever reaching their destinations. You feel something under your fingers. Again, grooves worn smooth, like a coin pressed into wood over and over. A currency. Mark. Possibly. In the Pale King's reign, benches like this doubled as temporary transaction points in the more remote tunnels. Civic workers sat on these very planks and handed out licenses, collected taxes, or reviewed mining permits. There was even a recorded system in which bugs could pay in song. Yes, song. Apparently, if your pitch was good enough, you didn't have to pay a fine. This policy lasted only 6 weeks. You sit back again, trying to imagine that world. Bureaucrats. In robes listening to caterpillars sing out their unpaid tolls. A truly melodic economy. The bench's position in the crossroads is still ... strange. Just slightly off the center path. Tilted toward what used to be a water duct. Old route maps show that it was once a central node for traffic in and out of the district. And yet, for all its prominence, the bench seems humble, like it knows more than it lets on. You start to suspect the bench has secrets. You're only half-dash joking. In one corner of the bench's base, there's what looks like a sealed compartment. It's too small for anything dramatic, but you notice a rusted hinge. You gently press against it, and the wood creaks open just enough to reveal an old slip of parchment. It's unreadable now, faded into a beige whisper of letters. Still, the fact that it was hidden here suggests the bench once served a very deliberate function beyond rest. One scholarly bug named Perlin theorized that benches like this were used for unofficial meetings, low-risk, unrecorded bureaucratic sessions. In her famous paper benches, The Silent Witnesses of Hallownest, she argued that the casual placement of benches made them ideal for covert diplomacy. It was a theory ridiculed at first, but after the discovery of this very hidden compartment, the academic community started paying attention. Of course, not everyone agrees. Some say it was just a forgotten snack stash. You exhale slowly, letting the air settle around you. The crossroads remain quiet to quiet, some might say, but not you. You start to hear things better in the silence. The hum of ancient stone, the whisper of time folding in on itself, and beneath it all, the patient voice of a bench that has seen everything. It still prefers to say nothing. This is the moment when you start to feel like the bench isn't just an object anymore. A character, quiet one, sure, but full of old memories and unsent letters and civic forms nobody ever filed. A relic of a time when rest was planned, respected, and woven into the infrastructure of life. You shift slightly, feeling the cold wood through your tunic. It's still not comfortable. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be real. And as you close your eyes again just briefly, you think, maybe if you sit here long enough, you'll remember a story the bench has been trying to tell. Or maybe you'll just nap. Honestly, both options are good. The bench has started to feel like an old friend, grumpy, unpolished, and not great at hugs, but deeply reliable. Yes. You shift your feet, tracing absent-minded circles in the dust with your heel, and glance toward a nearby tunnel. Nothing, just stillness, wrapped in more stillness, with a light sprinkling of silence on top. A perfect soundtrack for reflecting on bureaucratic collapse and misfiled royal decrees. There's a faint draft from the east tunnel, carrying with it the ghost of something warm and earthy maybe. Old parchment, or possibly moss bread. Remember? Reading about a cartographer who swore the scent of bread could guide you to civilization in the deepness tunnels. His theory fell apart when he accidentally mapped the inside of his own backpack for 3 weeks. Which, strangely enough, brings you back to this bench. According to a now-lost field guide titled Tunnels of Order, the Forgotten Infrastructure of Hallownest, benches like this weren't just civic tools or emergency thrones. They were also navigation anchors. In the old days, maps were approved or denied right here. You imagine bug bureaucrats tapping rolled scrolls against the bench, muttering things like too many left turns, or this is just a doodle of a sandwich. One particularly eccentric figure named Querus, the measured, claimed that all roads in the kingdom could be traced back to exactly 7 benches, forming a hidden geometric pattern across the land. He believed this specific bench was the third, node the calm point, meant to balance the emotional tension caused by its counterpart benches, the overthinker's seat, and the bench of regret. Querus was eventually banned from most academic institutions for extreme cartographic poetry. But to this day, the theory still floats around message scrolls and tavern whisper circles. You tilt your head, considering the implications? If this was once a central point for orientation, it makes sense that the mapmaker Cornifer would start his journeys nearby. His humming once echoed faintly through these tunnels, though you're not sure if he ever actually sat on this bench. A shame, really. Good seating is rare and dangerous jobs. You slide your hand under the seat and discover something. Expected a flattened piece of metal embedded beneath the wood. You gently scrape the dirt away and reveal a stamp. MP401. Not a clue what. It means some claim it's a bench serial number from the Ministry of Placement. A shadowy group of civic bugs, tasked with ensuring every public seating option faced precisely 27 degrees northeast. Something to do with optimal nap angles. Others think it stands for meal point, implying benches were once snack zones. The debate continues. You chuckle softly to yourself, wondering if the scholars who argue over these details have ever sat here quietly and just ... listened. Known fact, in year 127 of the Pale calendar, Hallownest attempted its most ambitious infrastructure plan, the Great Tunnel Realignment. Aimed at reducing citizen confusion and optimizing trade routes, the project involved relocating several major junctions. Benches, unfortunately, were excluded from the realignment. The result? Dozens of seats like this one now rest in oddly skewed locations with no path leading cleanly to or from them. It's said that more than one noble got permanently lost trying to find the restroom. That misalignment may explain this bench's slightly strange position, facing just off-center, looking toward a wall rather than a proper corridor. But it also adds to its charm, like an old bookstore organized by mood instead of genre. The bench rewards patience and curiosity, not logic. A bit of cracked tile near the leg suggests the bench has been moved at least once, probably hastily, possibly during a festival. Recall a record of the Festival of the Quiet Shell, where decorations were hung from public seating and small music boxes played lullabies in every district. One blurry sketch from that event shows this very bench adorned with paper lanterns and a banner that reads, "Please do not wake the infrastructure." You'd give anything to hear what that music box sounded like. But for now, the memory of silence is enough. You start to wonder how many bugs fell asleep on this bench. How many secrets were whispered across it? How many dreams began, hair war ended, quietly and without fanfare? You picture a young beetle, heart pounding, rehearsing a speech to declare their love, only to lose their nerve and mutter something about weather instead. You picture an old scholar, scribbling furiously while balancing a scroll on their knees, trying to finish a treatise before dusk. You picture someone like you, just ... sitting, breathing, being. And then there's the matter of the forgotten seat tax. During the reign of Pale King II Alpha, no one knows why he insisted on the fraction. All public benches were briefly taxed a copper coin per use. Unsurprisingly, the kingdom revolted not with fire and rebellion, but with silence. Bugs simply stopped sitting. Tired districts of citizens stood stubbornly in protest. It lasted 3 days before the tax was revoked. But for years afterward, benches like this carried an unspoken defiance, a quiet act of rebellion against greed and poor lumbar support. Historians still debate the effectiveness of the protest. Some say it was the beginning of the kingdom's slow decline. Others say it saved the economy by preventing widespread pain and crankiness. You rest your hand on the bench again, as if trying to feel the echoes of those protests. The wood is cool, firm, steady. It doesn't ask anything of you. Doesn't expect you to win, or run, or even try. Just holds you for as long as you need. And then a little longer. Maybe that's why the bench survived. It never demanded to be noticed. It never changed. Simply endured. You shift slightly, and the bench adjusts beneath you, not with resistance, but with a familiar groan, like it's tired too. Lean back against the stiff support, the kind that encourages reflection, but not necessarily comfort, and let your eyes wander again. The silence here doesn't press in. It opens up. It's less like a void and more like a particularly respectful librarian, giving you space to think without ever shushing you. The thought lingers. Someone important, probably. Sat here once. Not important in the grand history book sense. Not a warlord or a conqueror. No, someone locally important. Like the bug who remembered everyone's birthday, or the one who ran the lost hand-found stand and never gave up on reuniting a cracked monocle with its original owner. Kind of. Importance that leaves no statues behind, but quietly shapes a community. Then again, maybe royalty did pass through. Maybe even sit. There's a long-standing rumor that this bench was part of the Pale, King's experimental mobile throne program and initiative where the king refused to stand during public appearances and instead had benches installed along his travel routes, according to faded blueprints unearthed in the royal waterways. Benches were built on wheeled platforms pushed by specially trained bugs called roll guards. This particular bench shows subtle wear patterns along the base grooves and drag marks that suggest it was moved. Historians still debate whether these are signs of royal passage or just someone with really bad sense of direction trying to redecorate. You gently tap the armrest, wondering if a king's elbow once rested there, or if a royal decree was read aloud from this exact seat, or if it was just used to eat us suspiciously. Undercooked mushroom tart? Whatever the truth, the bench wears its history like a hand-me-down cloak. Slightly oversized, little stained, but warm and well-loved. You glance down again and see the tiniest remnant of gold paint on one of the legs, faded almost to invisibility. Some believe this was a royal marking, proof that the bench belonged to the traveling monarch's furniture rotation. Others say it's just mustard. No one can be sure. But either way, it makes you sit up just a little straighter, just in case. There's etiquette involved. It's funny how a place can absorb the shape of its users. The seat itself dips slightly in the middle, a gentle curve that suggests generations of bugs who preferred the left side, or maybe leaned when thinking. You try shifting your weight to match the groove. It's surprisingly comfortable, a known fact. In times of conflict, Hallownest officials would sometimes use benches as neutral ground. Negotiations were carried out while seated, as standing was considered a posture of aggression. One scroll describes a 3-day peace talk between rival beetle guilds held entirely on a bench just like this. It ended in a tie game of checkers and a shared fruit pie. You can't help but wonder if that tradition of talking it out while sitting was born right here. You reach down and find something new, a small metal pin wedged under the bench leg. You pry it loose gently. It's shaped like a tiny mask, the kind you've seen carved into old gravestones and worn by elders in memory ceremonies. There's no inscription, just smooth, cool metal. It's unclear if it was dropped, left, or hidden. But its presence makes the air feel heavier, not in a bad way, just ... fuller. Like you're not alone here. Not really. As the minutes stretch like soft elastic, you begin to imagine the bench during a different time, a festival day, colorful lanterns floating above, banners waving in the stale tunnel breeze, laughter echoing from somewhere deep in the stone, bugs gathering around this very bench not to fight or plan or plot but to be, to sit and talk and argue over who brought the better. Cookies, a curious fact. Some benches were registered as community hearths, not for fire, but for gathering. This gave them special status. They couldn't be taxed, moved, or repurposed. They became protected zones of rest. According to one record, tampering with a registered bench could result in up to 5 years of forced pamphlet-writing, a cruel punishment given that pamphlets in those days were written entirely by claw. You chuckle at the thought of some petty criminal being assigned 700 trifold brochures explaining why not to steal from the public. Bench. Then your gaze settles on a small scrap of paper wedged between 2 planks. You pull it out, careful not to tear it.
Oh, there's writing on it.
Faint, but legible. If you find this, you're sitting in the right spot. Congratulations, no name, no date. Just that, you smile. A slow, sleepy kind of smile. It's easy to forget, in a kingdom full of grandeur and myth, that small things like this note, or this bench can, carry meaning too. Not every legend wears armor. Not every hero swings a nail. Sometimes history is carved in splinters and scattered breadcrumbs. Sometimes it's tucked beneath your resting hands and somewhere far off. Through tunnels and dust and time, you can almost hear someone whisper, "Sit a while longer." The quiet has become something more now. It's not silence exactly. It's the sound of absence, of things that were once here and aren't anymore. Close your eyes for a moment, not because you're tired, but because it helps you hear the past more clearly, like tuning an old radio. The air hums faintly with a sort of memory. And as you sit there, still as moss on a forgotten statue, you begin to notice something you hadn't before. Faint impressions in the stone floor beneath. The bench. It's the kind of where that only happens over a long, long time. These aren't cracks, they're footprints. Not literal ones, of course, but the kind formed by repetition, by habit. This was a place of return. Bugs came back here, over and over. Some maybe daily, others once a year. But they came. To this exact spot. They sat, they sighed. They maybe cried, maybe laughed. It's probably both. It's easy to imagine a young caterpillar scout reporting in, dragging a worn satchel, throwing themselves dramatically onto this bench with the kind of exhaustion only a truly minor inconvenience can cause, or an elderly weevil polishing the edges of the wood with a scrap of cloth, muttering about how they just don't make benches like they used to. A historical fact. Benches were often the only furniture in Hallownest to receive official maintenance. Everything else market stalls, lamps, even the guards had to request funding. Benches, on the other hand, were serviced monthly, like clockwork. The Benchkeepers' Guild was small, but fiercely respected. It's known for their punctuality, sarcasm, and really strong tea. There's even a surviving poem from one of the guild's members, carved into the underside of a bench in the City of Tears. They sit, they sigh, they rise again. My task is small, but never ends. No throne, no fame, no song, nor wine, yet still they come. This bench is mine. No one knows the author's name, which somehow makes it better. You shift your legs, and your knee bumps something, a tiny rusted plaque embedded in the side of the bench leg. The engraving is nearly illegible, but you trace the letters carefully. It says, "In memory of Hollow." That's it. It's just Hollow. No title, no story, no timeline, just a name. Maybe it refers to the Hollow Knight, or maybe it's just someone who sat here. A friend, a wanderer, a bug who gave good advice and always shared their lunch. The ambiguity is comforting. Like a dream you a frame remember that still makes you smile. You lean back again. The bench creaks, just a little, and in your mind's eye the world around you shifts. You're still you. But now the surroundings aren't quite the same. The walls are brighter. There's movement. The occasional clatter of feet in the distance. Hallownest before the fall. Not golden, not perfect, but alive. Functional. Hopeful. A little awkward. You see a couple of bugs sitting at the bench with you? They don't notice you. They're busy bickering over which mask polish gives the best shine. One insists on Shellguard Pro, the other swears by Chitin Natural. Their debate is fierce but affectionate, and you get the feeling this is a weekly thing. Behind them, a small parade passes. It's not a grand one, more like a practice run. A few young beetles with tiny banners. Sleepy drummer. A grasshopper on stilts who immediately regrets their decision. One of the bench sitters. Laughs so hard they nearly fall off. You blink and the memory fades, but the warmth stays. An odd bit of trivia. For a brief time, benches were used as unofficial message boards. Bugs would leave folded notes tucked into the slats, or scratch quick symbols with chalk, a kind of anonymous public diary. It was both charming and wildly inefficient. But for about 2 seasons, it worked. That is, until the council of ants declared bench notes a vulnerability to stable discourse and banned the practice. Of course, most bugs just switched to writing their notes in rhyme to confuse any regulators. It worked for a while, till a rhyming inspector ruined everything. You glance back under the bench again, just in case. Nothing there now, but you. Can almost feel the ghost of 100 paper scraps. Some saying I miss you. Others saying don't eat the mushrooms by the fountain. One probably said you looked beautiful yesterday. Historians still debate whether benches were ever enchanted. Some believe the original bench in Hallownest's heart was carved from dreamroot, a rare tree that absorbed emotion. If true, that would explain why sitting always feels ... heavier, not in body, but in memory. The idea is both sweet and vaguely unsettling. But then again, magic doesn't need sparkle to work. Sometimes a sturdy piece of wood in a quiet place is all the spell you need. You tap the armrest again. This time the sound echoes differently. Not louder, just deeper. Like something further down the tunnel heard it and sighed. The thought doesn't frighten you, comforts you. Whatever this place has seen, it has survived and welcomed more. You stretch your legs, noticing the faintest impression of a tiny footprint etched into the stone beside the bench. Smaller than yours? Fresher? Someone was here. Not long ago. Maybe they left something behind for you. Or maybe you're just part of their story now, too. You lean forward, fingertips brushing lightly against the edge of the bench. As if you might uncover some invisible latch, some hidden drawer full of answers. Of course, there's nothing. There's just the usual grains of dust, a curious speck, a blue shell fragment, and the echo of footsteps long since faded. But something's different. You can feel it. The temperature drops slightly. It's like the breath of a sleeping city exhaling through the cracks. From your seat, you glance down the nearest corridor. It bends gently out of view, like a beckoning finger. You don't stand yet. No rush. The bench has made you patient. But there's an itch at the base of your shell now. A whisper of movement, of story. You're ready to follow it. You rise slowly. The bench groans beneath you, a farewell you're starting to recognize. You stretch, gently.
8.
The way someone does after a nap that was longer than expected, but exactly what they needed as you begin your walk. Each footstep feels deliberate, cushioned by centuries of dust and silence. There are faint markings on the wall's old guide symbols. The kind used before maps were common. A sideways V here, a broken circle there, some kind of navigation if you know the code. Most bugs today don't. But you're not most bugs right now. Here's a widely known historical fact. Hallownest once had a network of scent-based road markers. Specialized bugs known as trail scents would leave trace pheromones to guide others. Through complex tunnels, efficient yes, but only if you weren't congested. The entire system fell apart during the pollination panic, when a seasonal bloom overwhelmed all other scents and left travelers spinning in circles. One even ended up in the Queen's garden by accident and became a florist out of sheer embarrassment. You step over what looks like the remnants of one of those old scent pots. Cracked, empty. Smells faintly of mint. Maybe eucalyptus, you make. A mental note to ask someone if that still works on allergies. The tunnel widens slightly, opening into a half-collapsed chamber with the strangest feature you've seen so far, another bench. But not like the last one. This bench is crooked, lopsided. One of its legs is propped up with a broken nail. The wood is darker, warped from moisture and time. But someone clearly tried to repair it. They cared. Just ... Not very well. You sit anyway. Because how could you not? This one feels different. Less ceremonial. More personal. Like someone built it for themselves, not for a kingdom. You lean back, it wobbles. You don't mind? This time, the vision doesn't come in a flash. It creeps in, gradual. The sound of soft humming, the scent of firefly oil, a tiny forge glowing in the background. A hunched figure scraping at a blade, pausing to glance at the bench, smiling without really smiling. They don't see you. They pause their work, walk over. Sit where you're sitting now. Take out a small journal and scribble something. Can't read it, but the last line is underlined twice. The only word you catch is enough. You wonder what they meant. A quirky footnote from the margins of history. Some bench builders used to hide miniature carvings inside the legs of their benches like inside jokes, or secret wishes. One preserved example shows a tiny bug riding, a turnip like a horse. Scholars still argue whether this was symbolic or just bored craftsmanship. A few suggest it was a form of protest. Others think it was for luck. Personally, you like the idea that they just thought it was funny. You reach down and tap this crooked bench's leg. It echoes faintly. You can almost hear laughter, you notice. Something odd in the dust at your feet. A small trail of scratches, like someone dragging a stick. Or maybe a claw. It weaves slightly, like whoever made it wasn't walking straight. Drunk? Injured? Daydreaming? Who knows? You follow it with your eyes and spot something leaning against the far wall. A shield. Not a real one. Just a piece of shell. Shaped to look like one. Handmade. Decorative, maybe. Or symbolic. Wanted to feel protected, even. If they weren't, you touch it gently. Cold, cracked. Historians still argue whether personal armor was more psychological than practical in Hallownest. After all, when most enemies were shadows, dreams, or existential dread, a chunk of chitin didn't offer much. But to wear it to believe in it sometimes, that was enough. You look back at the bench. It feels lonelier now. It's like a secret only you and one other person ever knew. You don't sit again. Not yet. Instead, you walk a slow circle around it, imagining what this little alcove was before the walls cracked, before the forge cooled. Was it a workshop? A hideaway? A date spot? Retirement plan? You smile. It doesn't really matter what. Matters is that someone thought this bench was worth fixing. That thought lingers. You sit again briefly, and in the quiet that follows, you hear nothing, not silence, not absence, just rest. You rise from the crooked bench, feeling the familiar resistance of old wood and age-worn nails. The tunnel outside feels cooler now, as if the air itself has changed with the passing moments you spent in that quiet alcove. Your footsteps echo, softly, a rhythmic beat against stone that's held stories older than you can imagine. Moving forward, you notice patches of faint bioluminescent moss clinging to the walls, casting a gentle, almost sleepy light that flickers like candle flames. In a quiet chapel. It's enough to guide your steps without overwhelming the senses. A perfect companion for wandering without purpose. As you continue, you recall a little-known fact. In the early days of Hallownest, bioluminescent moss was deliberately cultivated. In public spaces to mimic starlight, helping bugs navigate during long nights, they called it Moon's Mimic. Some say the soft glow was meant to soothe the restless, especially those who couldn't find their way home. Historians debate whether it was a successful urban design or just a poetic attempt at lighting. Fingers graze the cool stone wall, rough and uneven, dotted with tiny cracks that tell stories of slow decay. You pause, watching a delicate spider web shimmer in the mossy glow, a silent reminder that even in abandonment,
life persists.
Ahead, you spot a faded tapestry hanging limply from rusted hooks. Its colors have dulled, but the intricate design is still visible, a circle of bugs, united in a gentle dance. The fabric's threadbare edges whisper of countless years, and you wonder what celebrations once filled this place with music and laughter. One historian suggests this tapestry was part of a unity festival, an annual event aiming to bring together all creatures of Hallownest, regardless of caste or creed. Others argue it was simply a decorative piece donated by a wealthy merchant. Either way, its presence here hints at a time when community mattered deeply. Even in the shadows, you brush your hand over the tapestry, feeling the softness of worn fibers, and think about how different this scene must have looked when the threads were bright and the air filled with song. The thought makes you smile softly. Your gaze drifts to a small, carved emblem on the wall near the tapestry, a symbol resembling a folded leaf with a single drop of dew. Local lore claims it represented renewal and hope, a subtle reminder to rest and recover before the next journey. The symbol appears on benches, scrolls, and even some armor pieces, embedding itself in the culture's quiet moments. You take a breath, letting the cool, mossy air fill your lungs and feel the tension in your shoulders ease. Here, the world slows down naturally. No urgent quests, no ticking clocks, just time unfolding gently. Nearby, you spot a narrow passage veiled by hanging roots. It beckons quietly, promising discovery or perhaps nothing at all. You step toward it, feeling the soft crunch of dirt beneath your boots, and imagine the countless feet that have wandered these paths. Seeking solace or answers, as you venture deeper, you catch a faint melody like a lullaby hummed in the dark. It's impossible to tell if it's real or a trick of memory, but it fits perfectly with the calm that settled over you. You pause, closing your eyes for a moment to listen, letting the gentle hum seep into your bones. Historians still debate whether such melodies were part of ancient rituals or simply the echo of the kingdom's long-lost heartbeat. Either way, they remain a haunting, beautiful mystery. When you open your eyes, you notice a small pile of smooth stones arranged carefully, On the ground, a silent altar, or perhaps a marker left by someone who cared deeply. You kneel and trace the outlines of the stones, feeling their cool surfaces, each one a silent story. The bench, the moss, the tapestry, the melody, all pieces of a puzzle you'll never fully solve. But maybe that's the point. You stand, feeling the gentle pull of the tunnel behind you, and with one last glance at the glowing moss, you step forward into the quiet unknown. The passage narrows as you proceed, roots brushing softly against your arms like forgotten whispers. Moss light flickers, casting shadows that dance in time with your breath. Each step feels deliberate, slow, measured almost as if the tunnel itself is inviting you to slow down, to savor every moment. You catch sight of a faint engraving in the stone wall, a spiral encircled by tiny dots. It's a symbol you've seen before, etched on several benches throughout Hallownest. It's said to represent the cycle of rest and renewal, a constant reminder that even in stillness, life moves forward. Curiously, the spiral's center is slightly chipped, as though someone pressed their finger there one too many times. Some scholars argue it was a place for meditation, where weary travelers could place a finger and feel connected to the kingdom's heartbeat. Others suspect it was simply a worn spot from countless passers, be fidgeting absent-mindedly. You reach out and place your own finger on the spiral, feeling the rough texture beneath your skin. For a brief moment, you imagine the countless bugs who have done the same, travelers. Workers, dreamers, all finding a quiet moment here. A well-known fact, benches and resting spots in Hallownest often served dual purposes as communal gathering points and spiritual way stations. Not merely places to sit, but places to reflect and find balance. Some even claim that sitting near a spiral marking could ease troubled minds and soothe restless spirits. You shake your head slightly, amused at the idea. Only modern offices had such thoughtful break rooms, you mutter to yourself, the hint of a smile tugging at your lips. Your attention drifts to a cluster of tiny mushrooms growing from a crack in the stone nearby. They glow faintly, their bioluminescence soft and reassuring. There's a delicate scent of earth and rain in the air. Grounding you further into the moment, you remember reading about a rare mushroom called the dream cap, believed to induce vivid dreams and restful sleep when touched lightly. Ow! Some dismissed it as folklore. There have been reports from old-time herbalists in the city who swore by its calming properties. You reach out, careful not to disturb the fragile fungi, and imagine the peaceful dreams they might inspire. Suddenly, a faint rustle echoes behind you. You turn slowly but see nothing, just a gentle swirl of dust, motes drifting lazily in the mossy light. Historians debate whether the tunnels were ever truly empty or if unseen creatures continue to wander, unseen by most. Some claim to have heard soft footsteps or whispers carried on the air. While skeptics attribute these tales to the imagination stirred by solitude, you decide to chalk it up to the latter for now, as you continue. The tunnel opens into a small chamber filled with ancient tools and relics. A dusty workbench holds a variety of implements, chisels, hammers, and oddly shaped keys, each telling silent stories of craftsmanship and purpose. You pick up a small key, its metal cool and heavy in your hand. It feels important, but its lock is a mystery. You wonder what doors it once opened, or perhaps what secrets it still guards. A curious footnote. Some believe that many benches were built near locked chambers containing official documents or relics. The benches served as waiting areas, where officials or petitioners could rest while awaiting access. You set the key down gently and lean back, letting your gaze wander over the worn stone walls. The room feels timeless, caught between activity. In stillness, like a breath held in pause. You realize that this journey, begun with a simple bench, has led you deeper into the heart of Hallownest's quiet mysteries. And yet, the bench still calls you back. You stand and retrace your steps, feeling the weight of the key as a talisman, a reminder of stories waiting to be told. Returning to the bench, you settle once more into its familiar support. Here, this quiet place, the echoes of history and the whispers of the present intertwine, inviting you to rest and to dream. You sit back down on the bench, feeling the familiar, comforting resistance of the wood beneath you. The air feels softer here, warmer even, as if the bench itself is offering a quiet embrace after your brief exploration. You run your fingers along the grain, tracing the patterns carved by countless hands in time. There's a gentle hum in the background, a low vibration that seems to pulse from the very stones beneath you. You close your eyes for a moment and let it fill your senses. The sound is neither loud nor intrusive, but steady and soothing, like the heartbeat of Hallownest itself, a known fact. Benches were often placed strategically near these humming spots, believed to enhance meditation and rest. The vibrations were thought to align with the natural frequencies of bug physiology, promoting calm and sleepiness. While modern science hasn't fully confirmed this, many still swear by the practice. You imagine the bugs of old settling here after long days, miners with aching shells, scholars with tired eyes, wanderers with heavy heart, Saul finding a moment of peace on this very bench. Your thoughts drift to an unusual tale about a bench in a distant district, where it said a bug once fell asleep mid-negotiation and dreamed up a treaty that ended a decade-long feud. Historians still debate whether the treaty was genuine or the product of a remarkably vivid nap. Regardless, it speaks to the power of rest and the unexpected places where solutions can bloom. Your gaze falls on a faint scratch on the bench's surface, shaped vaguely like a heart. It's subtle, but you swear it wasn't there before. You wonder who might have left it tanned, if it was an act of affection, boredom, or something more mysterious. You take a deep breath and let your mind wander further, imagining the lives intertwined with this bench. Lovers meeting in secret, strategists plotting quietly, children playing nearby, all touched by the simple presence of a place to pause. There's a softness to the bench now, quiet dignity that transcends its rough exterior. It's a testament to the slow, patient rhythms of life in Hallownest. You stretch your legs out, feeling the cool stone beneath your boots, and notice a small, carved symbol on the armrest, a crescent moon cradling a tiny star. It's a reminder of the night, of rest, and of dreams yet to come. Historians still debate the symbolism of this emblem. Some say it represents the balance between wakefulness and sleep. Others believe it was a marker for secret meetings held under the cover of darkness. You smile softly, feeling the weight of stories both told and untold, resting here with you. The bench, once a mere object, has become a companion, a silent witness to the passing of time, the flow of life, and the quiet moments that make existence meaningful. As you sit, you feel your eyelids grow heavy. The gentle hum, the worn wood, the stories whispered on the breeze all beckon you toward rest. You lean back, surrendering to the calm, and in that surrender you find peace. The soft weight of sleep tugs at your eyelids, but you resist, wanting to linger just a moment longer on the bench's comforting embrace. Your fingers trace absent-minded patterns on the wood's worn surface, feeling every groove, every imperfection like a map etched by time itself. Each scratch and dent seems to hold a story, a whisper from a past visitor, a silent sigh of years gone by. You recall a curious fact. In Hallownest, benches were sometimes used as informal message centers. Travelers and locals alike would leave tiny tokens, notes, or scratches to communicate in a way that transcended words. A notch here could mean pass safely. A carved symbol there might be a greeting or a warning. Though this form of communication is long forgotten, traces remain in benches like this. A silent language etched in wood. Your gaze falls upon a faint spiral pattern near the bench's edge, common symbol of eternity and rest. Scholars debate its meaning. Some see it as a spiritual emblem, while others consider it merely decorative. Either way, it's a reminder that rest is not just a pause, but a cycle, an essential part of life's rhythm. The air around you is cool and still, the kind of stillness that invites calm reflection rather than anxiety. Somewhere, a soft drip echoes, the sound of water patiently shaping stone over centuries. A gentle reminder of time's inexorable flow. You imagine a tired bug, long ago, sitting here after a long journey, perhaps worn from battle, from work, or from wandering the labyrinthine tunnels of Hallownest, might have closed their eyes and let the silence cradle them. The bench supporting their weary shell. There's a peculiar anecdote about a famed poet who composed verses while seated. On a similar bench, the poet claimed that the bench whispered stories if you listened closely. Whether true or not, some lines from their poetry survive, speaking of rest as the softest battle we ever fight. You lean back, your body melting gently into the bench's shape, the rough wood contrasting with the softness of your thoughts. A subtle breeze brushes past, carrying faint scents, perhaps damp earth, or distant blossoms, fragrances that seem to carry memories. Historians still debate whether benches like this were crafted from special trees believed to absorb and store memories. The idea sounds fanciful, but you can't help but wonder if that's why resting here feels so deeply comforting. Your thoughts drift to a quiet debate among scholars. Was the bench merely furniture, or was it a vessel for collective experience? The line is blurry, but sitting here you feel part of something larger, a shared history woven through the grain of this simple wooden seat. You let out a soft sigh, the kind that comes when the world finally slows down enough for you to breathe. The bench doesn't rush you. It invites you to be still, to find peace in presence. And so, you close your eyes, letting the calm wash over you. The soft hum of Hallownest's quiet heart lulling you toward rest. You awaken from your brief reverie on the bench with a gentle start, as though surfacing from a calm dream. The quiet around you is comforting, a soft blanket wrapped snugly against the creeping chill of the tunnel air. Your hands still rest, lightly on the bench's arms, steadying yourself before rising, stretching slowly. You recall that benches in Hallownest were not only places for rest, but also served as landmarks. The well-traveled bugs often used benches as rendezvous points, or reference markers during their journeys through the winding tunnels. It's a practical design that turns simple seats into silent guides. You glance along the tunnel beyond the bench, noting faint markings scrawled in chipped stone, an informal map left by wanderers who came before. Some of the symbols are ancient, perhaps a form of shorthand understood only by a few. Historians continue to debate the origins and meanings of these cryptic carvings, suggesting they might represent a blend of directions, warnings and stories. You feel a gentle breeze, stirring loose leaves and dust, and with it, a soft scent of wildflowers drifts past. You smile, realizing that, even here in the depths, the surface world's breath finds its way through cracks and crevices. Near the bench, you spot a small pile of polished stones, arranged with deliberate care. It reminds you of similar cairns used to mark important places, or to honor those who had passed. The placement feels like a quiet tribute, a personal memorial amidst the forgotten. A small detail catches your eye. A tiny scratch etched into the bench's side, almost like a signature. It resembles a beetle's claw mark, crude but purposeful. You wonder about the bug who made it. Were they passing through, or making a statement? Maybe just bored. You lean back, letting your shoulders relax against the bench's sturdy frame. The worn wood cradles you, familiar and firm. A reminder that rest is both simple and profound. There's an old tale about a wanderer who sat on a similar bench, contemplating whether to continue their journey or turn back home. According to legend, the decision made there changed the course of their life, though no one knows what choice they ultimately made. It's a story often told in hushed tones, reminding listeners that sometimes the quiet moments of pause hold the greatest significance. You close your eyes briefly, allowing the quiet to settle deep within you. The bench beneath you is more than a seat. It's a witness, keeper of secrets and silent stories. You feel yourself drifting again, lulled by the gentle pulse of the kingdom's ancient heartbeat, and you let yourself rest. You sit a moment longer, the bench supporting your weight like an old friend who's seen too much but still listens patiently. The dim light of the tunnel dances softly across the walls, casting shadows that stretch and yawn as if the space itself is waking from a long nap. You breathe deeply, inhaling the faint scent of aged, mingled with the earthiness of moss and stone. You remember a curious piece of lore. Some benches in Hallownest were deliberately placed near natural springs. Their gentle babbling waters thought to carry away worries and calm restless minds. While the origins of this practice remain debated, many locals swore by the calming influence of water near a good bench. Your eyes wander to a small puddle reflecting the mossy glow nearby, ripples spreading silently as you imagine a tiny bug, stepping through the water, leaving a delicate trail of droplets behind. Nearby, a faded emblem is etched into the stone flora circle, enclosing a single delicate flower. This symbol is often associated with renewal and rest, a quiet encouragement to pause and breathe. Scholars argue over whether it was a spiritual marker or simply an artist's touch. But the meaning feels clear, even in darkness. There is a place for peace. You run your fingers along the armrest, noticing faint scratches that look like the remnants of a once-cherished inscription. The words have long since faded, but you can almost hear the laughter and whispered conversations that must have surrounded this spot. It's said that benches like this were often the setting for small, personal moments, confessions, promises, or simple acts of kindness. Though history rarely records these intimate scenes, they are etched invisibly into the wood, carried in the collective memory of those who sat here. You chuckle softly to yourself, recalling an amusing tale about a bug who attempted to carve a message on a bench but got distracted halfway through, ending up with a nonsensical swirl that's now affectionately called the confused coil by locals. Some believe it was a secret code. Others just think the bug was bad at carving. A gentle breeze stirs, and with it, the sound of distant dripping water returns a soft rhythm that blends with the bench's steady comfort. You close your eyes briefly, letting the melody wash over. Historians continue to debate the origins of the tunnel's complex water systems. Some suggest they were early irrigation efforts. Others believe they held symbolic significance, connecting physical rest with renewal and growth. Whatever the truth, the water song feels like a lullaby sung just for you. You take a deep breath, feeling your muscles relax further, your mind settling into a tranquil rhythm. The bench beneath you holds steady, steadfast companion in this moment of quiet, reflection, and as you sit, you feel the gentle pull of sleep drawing nearer. A soft invitation to let go, you smile and close your eyes, ready to follow. You awaken briefly, feeling the subtle shift of the bench beneath you, as if it's nudging you gently toward waking or deeper rest. The mossy light flickers, painting the tunnel in soft hues of green and blue, as quiet as a whispered secret. You breathe slowly, savoring the stillness. Your hand brushes against a smooth patch of wood, where years of resting elbows and hands have polished the grain to a gentle sheen. This bench has welcomed countless weary travelers, each imprint layered like a faint fingerprint of the past. You think of a little-known fact. Benches in Hallownest were often handcrafted by artisans who imbued each piece with tiny, almost imperceptible carvings or sigils for protection and comfort. Some of these symbols are believed to have calming properties, subtle enchantments woven into the very fibers of the wood. As you examine the bench's armrest, you spot a delicate spiral carved faintly into the surface, a motif recurring throughout the kingdom. The spiral's symbolism is debated. Some say it represents the cyclical nature of rest and renewal, while others believe it to be a charm against nightmares. Nearby, a faint sound of fluttering wings stirs your attention. A small moth-like creature flits past, its translucent wings catching the moss light in a brief shimmer. It pauses near the bench, as if acknowledging you, then disappears down a side tunnel. You smile quietly. Even here, life endures. You recall a charming anecdote from the records. A bug once attempted to carve the name of their beloved into a bench, only to have it slowly fade away with the passing seasons, an unintended metaphor for the fleeting nature of memory and love. Some still believe the bench remembers in its own way. Your gaze shifts to the stone floor, where faint footprints circle the bench, a silent dance frozen in time. Historians debate whether these were ritualistic steps, signs of respect, or simply the marks of curious visitors. The air feels softer now, filled with a gentle warmth that invites surrender. You lean back and close your eyes, allowing the calm to wash over you fully. The bench holds you steady, quiet sanctuary amid the vastness. And as you rest, the world around you seems to sigh a peaceful exhale, wrapping you in a comforting embrace. The bench creaks softly beneath you as you settle in one last time. The fading moss light bathes the tunnel in a gentle glow, the kind that seems to hush even the faintest worries. You breathe in the cool, still air, feeling it fill your lungs. Like a quiet promise, you recall a simple truth about places like this. They're more than just stone and wood. They're anchors for memories, beacons for rest, and quiet guardians of stories whispered in the dark. There's an old legend in Hallownest about a bench that could carry the dreams of those who sat upon it, sharing them softly with the world. While many dismissed it as fanciful, the tale lives on, told in hushed tones by those who believe that, even in silence, there's connection. You gaze around, imagining the countless bugs who've found solace, here travelers weary from their journeys, friends sharing laughter, souls seeking peace. The bench beneath you is a silent witness to all of it. You stretch your legs, feeling the comforting firmness of the stone floor, and let the gentle rhythm of the kingdom's quiet heartbeat soothe your mind as you lean back. Your thoughts grow slower, softer, drifting like the moss lights flicker. Here, in this still moment, you are safe. You are home. You close your eyes, surrendering fully to rest. The bench holds you gently, and the world softly fades to black. Now, as the story draws to a close, feel your body relax deeper into the surface beneath you. Each breath is slower, each moment more peaceful. Imagine the gentle sway of the branches outside, the soft rustle of leaves, the faint glow of twilight. Settling over a quiet garden, there is no rush here, no urgency, only the steady, calming rhythm of rest. Let your thoughts drift like clouds in a clear sky, light and effortless. You are safe. You are calm. You are exactly where you need to be. The bench, the moss light, the gentle tunnel, they remain with you. Guardians of your quiet journey, rest now and know that morning will come gently, with warmth and light ready to greet you. Sweet dreams, friend.